The hospital corridors were eerily quiet that evening, the fluorescent lights humming softly above. He had left early that morning for work, as usual, assuming his mother-in-law would be resting comfortably in her room and that his wife would be nearby, taking care of her. But something gnawed at him, a subtle unease that refused to fade. Perhaps it was the lingering fatigue of a long week, or maybe an instinct that had been honed over years of observing human behavior. Whatever it was, it compelled him to cut his day short and return home earlier than planned. As he parked his car and hurried through the hospital's sliding glass doors, a heavy sense of apprehension settled over him. He had no idea that the next hour would unravel a reality far darker than he could have imagined. If you believe in the power of kindness, empathy, and second chances, pause for a moment, like, comment, share, and subscribe. This story is for those who know that compassion can sometimes arrive just in time to change everything. His footsteps echoed down the familiar hallway, each one heavier than the last. He could already hear the faint mechanical beep of the heart monitor from his mother's room. Relief should have washed over him, but instead, his stomach twisted into knots. Pushing open the door, he froze. The sight before him was almost surreal, like a nightmare one refuses to wake from. His mother, frail and pale, was lying in bed, her thin hands clutching at the blanket. Nearby, his wife moved with unnatural haste, lifting small vials and medications, her expression one of clinical detachment. The bottles she was holding didn't belong to the treatment plan prescribed by the doctor. Panic surged in his chest as he realized she was administering medicine in a way that could be harmful. Every instinct screamed at him to act, but a part of him wanted to understand first, to grasp how someone he loved could be putting his mother's life at risk. He rushed forward, his voice a mixture of anger and desperation. "Stop! What are you doing?" His mother flinched at the sound, a fragile, quivering figure caught between confusion and fear. The wife turned sharply, a flicker of guilt flashing in her eyes, but it was fleeting, subsumed by something harder, more calculating. For a moment, the room seemed suspended in time, the tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. This was his mother, the woman who had sacrificed so much, who had raised him with patience and unwavering love. And now, in the place he expected safety and care, she was in jeopardy. Every second felt like an eternity as he took in the scene. The medications she held were mixed with over-the-counter supplements, and unverified remedies she had insisted were better than what the doctors prescribe. He remembered the subtle arguments over the past weeks, how she had questioned his mother's treatment plan, how she had minimized the doctor's advice, insisting that her own methods were superior. At first, he had dismissed it, unwilling to confront the tension brewing quietly beneath the surface. But now, seeing the potential danger in front of him, he realized the severity of the situation. His protective instincts overpowered every other emotion. He moved closer, gently taking the bottles from her hands, careful not to make her defensive, yet firm enough to assert control. "We need to follow the doctor's instructions," he said, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and authority. His mother's eyes met his, filled with relief, but also fear of conflict, a deep-seated worry that her family might fracture under the weight of disagreement. She whispered a soft, "Thank you," barely audible over the rapid thrum of his heartbeat. In that moment, he knew that her life depended not just on medicine, but on the vigilance of those around her, on the courage to intervene even when it risked upsetting family harmony. The next hours became a delicate balancing act. He remained by his mother's side, carefully supervising every aspect of her care, all while navigating the awkward tension with his wife. She was not malicious in the traditional sense, but her stubbornness and misjudged intentions had created a perilous environment. He realized that in some ways, her actions stemmed from a desire to prove herself, to assert her influence within the family, rather than a deliberate wish to harm. And yet, intent did not erase consequence. the weight of responsibility, pressed down on him as he monitored the drip, checked the charts, and repeated the medication instructions to ensure there was no room for error. Throughout that evening, memories of his mother's unwavering love surfaced in waves. He remembered the nights she had stayed up nursing him when he was sick as a child, the tireless hours she spent supporting him through school, through heartbreak, through the small victories and crushing defeats that marked a lifetime. She had always given selflessly, often putting her needs last. And now, when she was at her most vulnerable, he was faced with the stark realization that he needed to protect her, not just out of duty, but out of gratitude and deep familial love. By late evening, the immediate danger had passed. His mother was resting, the medications administered correctly, and the monitors indicating stability. But the emotional strain lingered. He confronted his wife, not with shouting or accusations, but with a quiet, unyielding firmness. He explained the risk of her choices, the impact on his mother's fragile health, and the deep hurt it caused him to see someone he loved unknowingly jeopardize another loved one's life. It was not easy. Tears were shed, voices quivered, and the silence afterward was heavy with reflection. Slowly she began to understand, not fully perhaps, but enough to recognize the need for change. In the following days, a fragile truce formed, one built on a shared commitment to his mother's well-being. His wife agreed to strictly follow medical instructions, attend consultations, and refrain from administering any treatment without approval. Trust, once strained, began to be restored, not overnight, but gradually, through consistent actions and the visible care he took to guide her gently rather than confront her aggressively. He realized that sometimes love required both patience and firm boundaries, and that change often comes when individuals are guided with compassion rather than judgment. During this time, he also spent more hours with his mother, rediscovering the simple joys that had been overshadowed by tension. They shared stories of the past, laughed softly at recollections of childhood antics, and sometimes sat in quiet companionship, feeling the comfort of presence without words. He noticed the strength that still lingered within her, the determination to remain hopeful despite age and illness. It was humbling and inspiring to witness. His mother, despite her frailty, radiated a resilience that reminded him why protecting her was not just a duty, but a privilege. As the days turned into weeks, the household slowly found equilibrium. His wife's intentions, now properly guided, began to align with the family's needs rather than acting independently. The tension in the air eased, replaced by cautious optimism. The son, once consumed by fear and anger, now felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had faced the fear of losing someone irreplaceable and emerged not just as a protector, but as a mediator, someone capable of guiding with empathy while maintaining boundaries. There were still challenges, of course. Old habits died slowly, and trust, once shaken, needed constant reassurance. But the son had learned an invaluable lesson, that love is not always gentle, and protection sometimes requires courage to confront uncomfortable truths. He also realized that redemption was possible when approached with sincerity and accountability. His wife, initially blinded by her own convictions, had begun to see the importance of humility and careful consideration, a transformation born not of punishment, but of understanding and guided support. One evening, as he sat by his mother's bedside, holding her hand and watching her sleep peacefully, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. The danger had passed, but the experience had left an indelible mark on his soul. It reminded him that life is fragile, relationships are delicate, and the moments we have with our loved ones are precious beyond measure. He resolved to cherish every laugh, every story, every quiet shared moment, recognizing that true love is shown not just in words, but in actions, vigilance, and unwavering care. If this story touched your heart, please engage with it, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let this be a reminder that love, patience, and second chances can heal even the most strained relationships. And before you go, leave a comment about the moments in your life when you had to protect someone you loved, or when compassion changed a difficult situation. Your story matters, and your reflection can inspire others as this one has inspired you. In the end, the son learned that vigilance is a form of love, and sometimes the most difficult moments are the ones that teach us the most about empathy, courage, and the depth of human connection. He saw the fragile line between harm and care, between intention and consequence, and understood that true protection required not just love, but action, discernment, and the courage to confront even those closest to us when their choices could lead to danger. He discovered that family is not merely bound by blood, but by the shared commitment to watch over one another, to guide each other with care, and to ensure that the vulnerable are safeguarded against unintended harm. The hospital lights dimmed outside his window as night fully settled in, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The danger had passed, the lessons had been learned, and the bonds of family, though tested, had been strengthened. He knew that challenges would arise again, as they always do, but he now carried within him the knowledge that love, courage, and compassion could guide even the most fragile relationships through storms that once seemed insurmountable. And as he quietly whispered a prayer of thanks beside his mother, he felt a quiet hope that the future, though uncertain, held the promise of healing, growth, and the enduring power of unwavering care.